Tube, and welcome back to Fairy Tales and French Knots. I'm Erin, and this is my channel about cross stitch. We're up to episode 33, which I'm totally amazed I got this far, and today is March 2nd, 2025. I've got some stash to show today, a little bit of progress on some of my WIPGO pieces, and some finishing. So let's get started, shall we? I thought I'd start with WIPGO. So my WIPGO calls for February were ladies, and I think it was holiday, but I'm not sure anymore. Anyway, what I worked on was one of my ladies and one of my holiday pieces. So I started with Seaside Angel, and this is my Marbeck Fancy Lady. So here she is as of today. And what I worked on this month was some of the gown down here, some of the purple up here. I finished off a little bit of her hair that I didn't realize was unfinished, and a little bit along the sides, some of the green. I kind of jumped all over. That's the great thing about this piece. I can do that because there are so many colors in it, and since I got to both the top and bottom, I can work wherever I feel called to do it. There's also a lot of blends, so there's been a lot of times where I've just sat here and stared at it and looked at the blended floss colors and thought, I don't want to do that. So yeah, I also worked with some of the Krynic and the metallic, which, you know, is not fun either to do for a long time. So I jumped all over, and it's coming along. It's probably not going to get finished this year. She is in both the ladies category and my aquatic pieces category. So there are other opportunities for her. There's also other pieces I've been working on that are in those categories. So we'll see. But that's where I am with that. And the other piece I worked on was Father Christmas's Village sampler from Cosford Rise. And that is right here. I got quite a bit done on the Sleigh Bell Inn right here. I also finished the tea cake over here, added a little bit to this flower down here, and worked on this border all the way across. So there it is. And yeah, again, with it's a big piece and may not get finished this year, but I actually could work on it all month if I wanted to for March, because March was samplers and holidays, the two squares that were called for WIPGO. So I could work on that all month and it would fit both categories if I wanted to. I'm actually thinking I'm going to pull out Halloween Parcheesi by the Primitive Needle for the holiday one, and since this is on my big scroll rods, maybe I'll just keep working on it. We'll see. So let's talk about some fully finished pieces that I got put together. If not since my last video, I definitely haven't shown them before. First of them is a little piece from Shepherd's Bush called, I think this one was called Tending the Blooms, but I'm not positive. I stitched it. It was actually one of the first pieces I finished stitching after my daughter was born, which means it's been sitting in a bin for about 14 years. So I was at one of my favorite thrift stores and I found this little frame and got a crazy idea that it would work, and it did. So here is Tending the Blooms. And this green was just the perfect color. And confession, I actually painted this. It was green, but it was really nicked up from just probably years of being in boxes and mistreated and who knows what. So I mixed up some acrylic paints, gave it a couple coats, added some sealant, taped off this. This is actually metal here. So framed, finished, up on the shelf, super cute, happy with that one. I also finished We Are Fine, the piece by Mama Witch cross stitch, and I framed that as well. I was at Big Lots, one of the many retailers to fall in the most recent round of store closures, and all of their home deck stuff was 30% off at the time, and they had a bunch of those plaques that have random cheesy sayings in them. So I was looking through that, and I found this little round piece that said something about, families are not the only thing, they're everything, or I don't even know. But it had a piece of twine wrapped around the edge and some weird plastic flowers in it. So I looked at that and thought, for 30% off, it's going to cost me about, I think, $4. I can take it apart. If I completely ruin it, I'm out $4. And here's what I did. There is the pumpkin couple right here where this pumpkin and these leaves are. That's where the twine was, like jute twine, was wrapped around the frame. And then because I couldn't actually get it apart, see, it's all solid on the back, I cut a form of mat board and added some batting to it, put these guys in, and then to cover the tiny gaps where they didn't quite fit in the circle perfectly, there's a little bit of twisted cording. You can maybe see it there, the black twisted cording. And these little autumn berry things came off an old flower floral stick thing. It's probably behind me over here. That I got years ago to put on an ornament, and you don't throw it out if you don't use it all, right? So it was left over. It hid the ends of the twisted cording perfectly, looked so cute with them, and they are done. I know there were some comments when I shared it on Instagram about the fabric. The fabric is from Night Stalker's Calling, and it was in one of their monthly mystery boxes. I did not get the whole box. I only bought the fabric and floss after the mystery was over. And I think the color, I'd have to check, but it's something ocean monstery. It's like, labyrinth, or I don't even know. But yeah, it came out super cute. I want to leave them out all year round, not just at Halloween. Now, given the current state of the world, which I don't comment on too often, I decided to start a new piece, and I finished it. I was just so frustrated with the world and decided to find a piece that took me to a happy place. And what I found was Sew to Stitch's Hobbit Hole. And, who doesn't want to live like a hobbit in a hole in the ground, just worried about food and gardening? It sounds a whole lot better than things lately. So I put that together on a piece of 40 count, and then at the suggestion of a friend, I added the opening line to The Hobbit, which is, in a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. And I got that finished and fully finished, and here it is. So this is mounted on a little black plaque that I found at the thrift store for 99 cents. And I added some trim that I got somewhere and had stored in my stash bins. So that's all done. I actually felt a little bit guilty about the gluing it all together because the plaque is Classic Pooh. And Classic Pooh is my friend. I love Winnie the Pooh, and the classic illustrations are my favorites. But I didn't need a little plaque that said, with Pooh and Piglet, that said, "I'll be your friend forever." So it actually came out really cute. And oh, I don't know if you can tell, there is a knocker on the Hobbit door, which is a little gold jewelry jump ring, because in the novel, they say that the door has a little gold knob right in the center. So I guess technically I did it wrong because it's not a knob, it's a knocker. And if you just caught that part of this video, you'd have no clue what I'm talking about. But that was my fully finished thing. So that's all 3 of my fully finished finishes. The other thing I've been doing, in addition to going through my finished needlework bins, I've been going through my storage area of craft bits and wondering, what I can finish, what I can put together and get out of there. One of the things I found, and I shared this elsewhere, I'm not sure if I shared it here in the past few months, so I thought I'd share it again. I made a project bag out of an old t-shirt. And the t-shirt was, so back up a minute. The t-shirt came from my husband and I's first date. We went to the Great Lakes Medieval Fair in Ohio, and I bought this kind of plain brown t-shirt with a green logo on it. And I wore it for years and years and years. Eventually, the collar got all those little pinchy holes in it like t-shirts get. And I decided that I would throw it away, but I was going to keep the sleeve because the sleeve had part of the logo on it. And I thought, I will make something with it. Yeah, we've been married for almost 24 years now. Wait, no, we got married in 2002, so we're going on 23. But anyway, this piece of t-shirt has been in a box for over a decade, probably over almost 20 years. So, project bag. And here is my t-shirt bit. All done. Fabric lined. Just with some like plain muslin, but it's perfect for things because that's what we put in our project bags. Things. Can't have too many project bags. I change things around all the time in my project bags to the point that I forget what's in each one, as you do. And the other thing I found was several years ago, during COVID, I made some quilts. And one of the quilts I made, I called my Disappearing Nerd Patch because I used fabric from Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings. And I did 9 patches where you cut them, you sew your 9 patch together, you cut them in half in both directions, and then you turn them so that they aren't full 9 patches anymore, and then you sew them back together. So I made myself a quilt. It's kind of an odd size, and it made me happy. So I had 2 leftover squares after I cut everything apart and put it back together. And I put them in a box thinking, I'll use them for something. I also found a chunk of my Game of Thrones fabric, and I had an old project bag, or not project bag, but like one of those paper crafting bags where they're laminated, like laminated paper, and they have a big chonky plastic zipper in them. I found one of those that was kind of gross. Inside was all nasty. So I cut it apart and I had a zipper. And I made another project bag. This is a little guy because these squares are about 6 inches square. But there's Game of Thrones on the back. Or no, I'm sorry, Harry Potter is on the back. Game of Thrones on the front. And you can see the color scheme of my quilt. And the big red zipper, which was kind of a pain to work with because it was this plastic thing. And it didn't want to work the way I wanted it to, but I made it work. And now in it is my latest small start. I also went stash diving, and I have decided maybe I need to make a hashtag or something for this. I'm going to do Sunday stash dives and see what I can find that I can either finish, discard, or repurpose into something. It could take years to get rid of things, but it's a start, right? And you have to start. So the thing I found today while pawing through the back of a drawer was ink circles, Immaculate Heart. And this was a limited edition kit that came with mulberry silk. And I did not like working with the mulberry silk. And at one point, I finally gave up and threw away the fabric and the few stitches I'd put into it. So I sat down today with the remaining fibers. I didn't throw the custom fibers away. I just didn't use them. So I sat down with them and a piece of fabric, and I started it. So here's my start. All of my fibers are, well, actually, they're not all anything. There's some Vicki Clayton hand-dyed fibers. There's some Madeira silk, and there are one skein of Ship's Manners silk. So it was all stuff from my stash, and I just picked ones I liked that were close to the ones in the pattern, and they fit very nicely in that little bag, even in their little Q-snap. All set. So that was my Sunday stash dive. Let's see, what else have we got today? Stash. Got to talk about stash briefly. Several months ago, the LaHaye's shop, I don't remember the first name of Mr. LaHaye, I'm sure many of you do. His Quaker boxes and trays are beautiful. He sent out or posted on Facebook, it was either on Facebook or his newsletter, that he had acquired some Civil War era newspapers, and he was going to use them as liners for trays because they were they deteriorated to a point that they weren't archival anymore. No one was going to keep them for historical purposes, so he decided to repurpose them into something collectible. And I hemmed and hawed about whether I would buy one. I did put my name on the list to get one, but that did not commit me to paying for it. And then when the notification came that there was one available, I had some money in my stash account, and one of the small trays came home with me. Or came home to me because it arrived in the mail. So it's absolutely fascinating. I really love it. I don't know how well that it shows up with the light, but it's beautifully made, and the paper is fascinating to me. It looks like it's from sometime in May of, at one point I thought I saw a year, 1862. But it's got some information about some troop movements, General Mitchell's division in Monterey, Tennessee. Also around, what I thought was especially cool is around the inside edge, it's mostly advertising bits. So, you know, you can get flags, tents, and awnings, and Italian and store awnings made and put up, decorations furnished and executed by Lamprell and Marble. And yes, there's information on some kind of chemist depot, solid emery wheels for grinding and polishing metals, and we also have some information on the executors of the will of David Fulham. So it's just fun. So I think this is really cool. Trying to figure out which things to put in it, what would be best. I'm thinking maybe my big tomato would look cute in there. So I have that. And the other bit of stash that I acquired is in this lovely project bag, which this project bag came from the thrift store for $1.99. But I love it. It's got these like girls' historic book titles on it. Super neat. And I've decided to go along with my Hobbit hole, obviously. I got Smaug's Erebor from Tempting Tangles, and I don't have a color printout of it, but there's the pattern. And I did get the Dinky Dyes flosses, which I opened and then had to try and mash back into the bag. So they look kind of squashed, but so pretty. So those are my stash acquisitions for this month. Been pretty good about not buying a lot. I did make a trip to Joann's. I'm sure by now we all know that Joann's is going out of business. I'm very sad about that. Partly because, I mean, really, where else can I buy DMC floss, reliably find, a pretty much complete selection? I don't have a local needle workshop. Hobby House is about 2 hours away. There used to be one nearby. It closed years ago. And really, it's not so much that I miss them for stitching supplies as I will miss Joann's for the ability to go and get ideas. I think I saw an article that said something similar. If you're looking for something to try, that's where you would go because it's a great entry level. You want to try to knit? Well, you don't need to go to a knit or a yarn store and buy really expensive hand-dyed, hand-spun wools. You want a ball of something cheap and probably not that great quality because whatever you make is going to be wonky anyway. And when you first start stitching, you want, DMC Ada and some floss. Joann has that, and they have lots of coupons. So you get all the things, you get a start, and I go there now for like finishing materials, like little wooden frames and beads and doodads and some of their seasonal decorative stuff that you can, attach your needlework to, even if that wasn't what it was intended for. And yes, I know there are other stores that have that kind of stuff. I'll really miss Joann's. So I went, I grabbed, let's see, what did I get? I grabbed handfuls of floss in just about every color, and I've started sorting it into bags by DMC number so that hopefully I can find it when I need it. I also bought a pack of warm and white batting in a craft-sized package. I got some beads. I grabbed a couple fat quarters, the prepackaged ones. It really was like I was in there last Thursday. I think it was this past Thursday. My Joann's already looked like the craft locusts had attacked. So there was just long lines, people everywhere. Fabric was just cut everywhere. The zippers and beads were not marked down yet, so I may have to go make another trip and get more zippers, although I have a ton of zippers right now. So I don't know. We'll see. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about. I decided to do D20 Stitches Stitch for Pride this year, and they're doing a famous and infamous transgender, non-binary, two-spirit people through history, and I'm going to scrapbook them. Dee mentioned that in one of their videos that some other people had scrapbooked them, and I started thinking about, what would that look like? And then I realized, because I used to scrapbook too, I do have in the cabinet behind me two giant plastic boxes, one full of different papers and one full of random stickers and other things. So they're those 12 by 12 paper boxes that Michael's and Joann's would sell, and they're chock full of stuff. So I thought, how cool would it be to stitch each piece and then take a little bit about the person and put it on the facing page. So I'd have needlework and then exactly what this is. And I got a small 8x8 Creative Memories book from eBay. And I know Creative Memories was a big multi-level marketing scam and their stuff is overpriced, but I really like their albums. And I like the way the strap hinge works so that you can make it as, fat as you need it to be. So it'll work out great for this. And I do have to find, I think, like one extra 8x8 page. So I'm going to put out a call to my scrappy friends and see if anybody has one in their stash. But that's going to be, once I get them stitched, then I'll mount them and play with them in scrapbook world. And with that in mind, if you've stuck around for the past 25 minutes and listened to me ramble, I'm going to do a giveaway. I know I don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but just given where the world is and the things that have been on my mind lately, I want to give some of my stash away. And the thing I found to give away is something that I stitched and turned into a project bag. And that is, because I was talking about Dee, we still go on from Dee's 20 Stitches and Uncanny Carry. I don't have the fibers that go with it. I only bought the pattern. Actually, I bought this and the other pattern, the WIPGO on, which is that one. And then We Still Go On is the smaller one. Finished size, pattern dimensions are 63 by 52, so you're not getting into a big piece. And it looks great in a single color. I stitched mine with actually a floss from Night Stalker's Calling that was green, blue, yellow, speckled, very awesome. So, giveaway. As goes with all YouTube giveaways, do not mention that word or any word related to that in your comment. And I think the comment should contain the word dragon. And please use it in a fun way, like make me laugh. Make everybody laugh. Don't just write the word dragon, please. Yeah, so I usually have videos about once a month, so you can enter as long as video 33 is still the last one you're seeing. Put something in there. When I do video 34, I'll give it away. So, We Still Go On, These 20 Stitches. Use the word dragon in a sentence in the comments, and I'll see you probably in a month. Bye.